Are we feeling that or what? Welcome to the loneliest name in late night. Welcome to the loneliest show on the internet. Welcome to Sam Roberts Now. I feel like last couple of weeks we've been experimenting with all our new stuff here. It's the bald era, the bald Sam era. It's just it's a different vibe. It's a different feel, and I feel like we're finally all getting things intact. All getting things together. Had the nice aerial shot like it's some kind of real sports radio television show thing. It's a pleasure to be coming to you tonight from the Not Sam studio on the loneliest night of the week, Friday night. But really, what better than to be lonely on a night when there's so much to discuss and so much to talk about. Hot Dog is not here. He'll probably be back next week. I sent him to Maui to punch Miles Teller in the face. I said I was watching that Vinny, whatever the boxing movie Miles was in. I said this wasn't nearly as good as Whiplash. Hot Dog, here's a first-class ticket to Maui. I know he's hanging out with Aaron Rodgers down there. Find him, go to the bathroom, punch him in his face. And he did. And that's exactly what Hot Dog did. So I'm very excited about that, and he'll be here again soon. But we're still here for you. If we're going to be lonely, let's all be lonely together, and let's talk about it. There's stuff to unpack. There's always stuff that we got to unpack. Also, Hot Dog was banned from tonight's show because I don't know if you subscribe to the channel and your alerts are turned on, which I would recommend everybody does, then you know already there was a new episode of In the Not Sam Studio that dropped earlier this afternoon. Adam Ray, comedian, podcaster, actor, he was our guest in the Not Sam Studio. Of course, he plays Vince McMahon on Young Rock, but he's also, a really well-known comic. He does a great job on his podcast, and one of the things that I found very interesting about him is he gets great guests on his podcast. Like he'll be in movies, and he's not weird. He finds like natural ways to go up to the people that he's in movies with and get them to be on his podcast. Like he's had like Sandra Bullock on his podcast, I'm trying to work up the courage to get Adam Ray to come on. But that's probably the difference. I feel like people that are good at getting people to be on their podcasts probably like never had problems dating in high school. I think that's what it all comes down to. I never like asking anybody to be on In the Not Sam Studio. I never like asking anybody to be on the Not Sam Wrestling Podcast. I love the SiriusXM show because somebody else takes care of that completely. I don't know who's booked on the show. I don't care who's booked on the show. That's Roland's job. Would you want to? Yeah, the more the merrier. Welcome them on, but I'm not going to ask them because I'm afraid of the rejection. It's the same reason I couldn't ask anybody out in high school. I'm afraid of the rejection. But this Adam Ray is a handsome guy. He's an in-shape guy. He's probably never in his life been afraid of rejection. So he does a great job getting people on his podcast. But it was a really great conversation. So check that out after tonight's show if you haven't checked that out yet. And don't forget to hit like ski. Smash the like button so that everybody knows that you are here and have fun with it. Look, we're coming to you. We did a couple of movie topics the last couple weeks. 2 weeks ago, we ran down the entire Saw franchise, which was a blast. Last week, we determined the number one wrestling documentary of all time. it was beyond the mat. Like, it wasn't, it was an hour and a half to figure out something we all already knew, but we still got there. And the 2 Ultimate Warrior documentaries that aired this week were both really good. I like the A&E doc way better. I was in it, and I did great, so that's probably why. Although it was Sam with hair, so I was also, a lot of the internet was like, who's that turd? And I got it. Now I get it. Like, Bald Sam gets why Sam with hair got that reaction. If Bald Sam had been on the A&E documentary, I mean, people would have flipped their lid. But tonight, we got something more important to talk about than all these movies, all these documentaries. Tonight, we come to you on the 5-year anniversary that a young being, an animal, died for us, for all of our sins. 5 years ago today, a 17-year-old gorilla was murdered in cold blood for no apparent reason. We lost Harambe. Harambe was shot and killed in Cincinnati 5 years ago today. I don't think that animals like this are supposed to exist in Cincinnati. Can you imagine, like, you are naturally predisposed, genetically predisposed to live in the jungle, to be free, to be able to run around, to hunt prey, to just be this beast. And instead, somehow you end up in Cincinnati, where you just sit in a pen so that a bunch of people can come and look at you all day. I don't care what anybody tells me. These zoos seem like a terrible idea. I can't imagine any animal going like, oh man, the Serengeti would have been fun, but Cincinnati is also good. And not only do you get stuck living in Cincinnati instead of in nature, but you get shot and killed in Cincinnati? I mean, my God. So, of course, we remember Harambe. Harambe got so big. I mean, I love when things like this happen. I love when people just can't pinpoint what things mean, why this has gotten so out of control, why everybody's obsessed with this, and it's like, the more people try to figure it out, the more they feel left out because there's nothing to figure out. That's the beauty of it. But Harambe became such a meme. I remember that it would have been 5 years ago this August, so it would have only been a few months after we lost the great, wonderful, powerful Harambe, that Jim Norton and myself started just, screwing around on SiriusXM. Weren't officially doing a show together or anything, but we were just jumping in and doing stuff in the studio. And, one morning we would call the show Jim and Sam. One morning we would call the show Norton and Friends. And we did, for a period of time, call the show Morning Harambe. Except it was like, it was the double entendre because it's in the morning, but it's also we're mourning Harambe. But I was for it. I was like, look, let's say, I don't care if we're going to be on the air together for the next 100 years. Once they figure out how to plug us into the internet, nobody's dying. So we could be around forever. I don't care if we are on the air together for 100 years and the show is named Morning Harambe. I'll do it. We're good to go. So we didn't end up naming the show Harambe. We picked our own names instead. But that's how big this thing got, okay? That's how big this thing. By the way, I see you already in the Super Chats. If you want to communicate with Sam Roberts now tonight, make sure you Super Chat in. I see some people already there in the regular chat. I'm going to miss a lot of it. So Super Chat it in. I got my window open. Everything will be read. I promise you that. But of course, Harambe was made famous because he's in Cincinnati. He's in the zoo. And this 3-year-old is going, hey, Mom, I want to jump into the cage with the gorillas and hang out with them. And the mom's like, yeah, that's a terrible idea. Absolutely not. So you're not going to do that, right? And the kid's like, I don't think so. Probably not. And the mom goes, okay. And she just stops looking at the kid. So as soon as she stops looking at the kid goes, screw this. I'm trying to jump in there with these gorillas. And the kid hops the fence. I don't know what zoo has a thing full of gorillas and they have a fence that a 3-year-old can climb over. 3-year-olds are not strong climbers. Like, there are separate, 3-year-olds can't even handle a regular playground. There are separate playgrounds for 3-year-olds because they're so bad at stuff like this. When you have a 3-year-old and they start going, that like net the net that you have to climb up to get to where the slide is and everything on the playground. You can't leave a 3-year-old alone on that thing. It'll crack their skull, fall off. So I don't know what kind of structure was built that a 3-year-old was able to bypass the separation between human and animal. But the 3-year-old did it. He jumped down in the gorilla zone, and he's in there, and the mom's like, oh, my God. My kid is hanging out with these gorillas. Somebody help me. And the zookeepers come over, and they go, hey, all gorillas, go into this back room here, and don't touch that kid. And there's 3 gorillas in there. And 2 of the gorillas say, okay, zookeeper, that sounds like a good idea. The 3rd gorilla is our hero of the story, Harambe, who goes down, and he goes like this. I hear you, zookeeper, but also, I think a little kid just jumped into the gorilla cage. I'm going to go check on him. And he does, and you can see him. I mean, have you ever seen anything so darling as this? Little Mowgli here is ready to get raised by the gorillas forever. And the gorillas are ready to have, Harambe's ready to have him. He's like, oh, come on. You can hang out with me. But no, the humans are worried. I go like this. Harambe's taking care of him. And then they go, Harambe is a 450-pound gorilla that doesn't understand that this 3-year-old is not built to get dragged around by a gorilla. And I was like, okay, well, Harambe doesn't seem to be doing anybody any harm. But people start panicking, and Harambe starts getting aggressive, and he does start dragging the kid around. And it's like, oh, my God. And so what do? They get their guns out, and they shoot and kill Harambe. And they get that little kid. And by the way, that 3-year-old, it's been 5 years. I want to know, what has he accomplished? I think we should be monitoring this 3-year-old so that we can find out, hey, was it worth it? Harambe, there's only one Harambe. And there's only a few animals like Harambe. That's an endangered species. There's lots of little kids running around. That's probably the attitude I would have if it was my own kid, too. I'd be like, you know what? My kid decided to do it. The mother posted this on Facebook when it all happened. She said, I want to thank everybody for their thoughts and prayers today. What started off as a wonderful day turned into a scary one. Yeah, I should say so. It also turned into like one of the most famous things that ever happened. For those of you that have seen the news or been on social media, for those of you that have seen the news or been on social media, that my son that fell in the gorilla exhibit, that was my son that fell in the gorilla exhibit at the zoo. Excuse me. God protected my child until the authorities were able to get him. See, that's not true. That's not true. Harambe protected the child until the authorities got him. Until the authorities murdered Harambe. It was Harambe that protected the child. He made sure he didn't drown. He made sure he didn't get beat up by the other gorillas that were in the pen with them. Harambe protected the child. God had nothing to do with it. God was not at the Cincinnati Zoo that day. I'll tell you, you know how I know God was not at the Cincinnati Zoo? Because if God had been at that Cincinnati Zoo, Harambe would have gotten taken down by a flesh wound. A shot to the shoulder, and that would have been it, and we still would have had Harambe with us. Drew Esquire says that kid grew up to be Jim Norton. All right, well, maybe it was worth it. Jim Norton is a heavily contributing member to our society. So, okay, all right, if that's the case. My son is safe and was able to walk away with a concussion and a few scrapes. That's pretty severe. No broken bones or internal injuries. A 3-year-old who's been concussed is pretty nuts. That's a pretty real injury. Like, at some point in your life, have you ever had a concussion? Well, I had one when I was 3. Whoa. Stop right there. Tell me the story. As a society, we're quick to judge how a parent... Okay, and now she... because people, of course, on social media were not nice to Michelle here. They were not nice to her. Because they were like, how do you just let your kid go into a gorilla cage? I don't know. I don't think anybody goes out there and says, today I'm going to be okay if that happens. Like, it was an accident. I'd like to think that I watched my kid enough that he would never jump into the gorilla cage, but kids do and say the darndest things, like Bill Cosby always said. But after this, Harambe became serious meme stuff. And I think that a lot of these memes start with the level to which people take situations that can be ridiculous seriously. Like the Harambe meme that still exists. I mean, it's nowhere near as strong as it once was. But 5 years later, it's still floating out there. I think that part of the reason it became such a thing is because this story was such a thing. Because this story was such a big deal on the news that people were like, are we still hearing about this gorilla story? Are we still hearing about this kid? Well, if you thought you were tired of hearing about him now, just wait and see what we do. And then as it sort of died down, there was like a DJ. And the DJ did like a set, but he did the set in memory of Harambe. It was kind of, it's like, I think the DJ, it was like a couple weeks later, and the DJ doing that set for Harambe, he kind of played it like the way people do things in memory of celebrities that died. That was the first kind of instance, I think, in a big kind of large-scale way of Harambe, of the death of Harambe being treated like the death of a celebrity. This DJ online did a set for him. And in the set, he said a quote that will forever cement the legacy of Harambe. Yes. Dicks out for Harambe. That's what he said. He said, dicks out for Harambe. And from that point on, dicks out for Harambe became a calling card. Now, originally, from what I've gathered, I've done some research here, dicks out for Harambe was not originally about anyone's genitals. I guess dicks out was slang for like a gun. Like a dick was slang for a gun. And so, like, they were like, guns out for Harambe, like almost like as a salute. But then, just the phrase "dicks out for Harambe" starts going nuts. And people, Dan Johnson wants to know, was it DJ Infinite Kitten? Of course, the author of the hit song "Fire," I Got the Fire. Also, a manufacturer of adult toys, DJ Infinite Kitten. Which we learned on the Sam Roberts show several years ago. Predating Harambe, believe it or not. It wasn't him, by the way. But one of the, a couple of comedians, I think, heard this quote, dicks out for Harambe, and started saying dicks out for Harambe a lot. Started tweeting about it, started putting it in their social media videos. And this, for me, I remember this moment being very special for me. Because when I first saw this, I did not understand the context of this whatsoever. I just know that generally speaking, when Danny Trejo tells me what's up, I don't doubt it. When Danny Trejo lets me know this is the energy we're on, I don't question it. I go like, yeah, if we weren't on that energy, I don't think Danny Trejo would have brought it up. So this video comes out and goes crazy, goes everywhere.
Dicks out for Harambe.
Hang on, we lost audio for a second, and it's not a very long video, so.
Dicks out for Harambe, you know what the fuck it is.
I do know what the fuck it is, and I like that guy, this I guess is one of the comedians that kind of got but I do know what the fuck it is. At the time, I didn't. He goes, dicks out for Harambe, you know what the fuck it is. And I was like, I don't want to say anything, but upon first viewing of this film, I do not know what that is. I did a little research since then, and I have found out what it is. So at this point, I do know what it is.
Dicks out for Harambe, you know what the fuck it is.
Hey, dicks out for Harambe.
I mean, how do you not? How do you not celebrate this thing when Danny Trejo says it with that kind of passion and that kind of fervor? How do you not say it? Right? You're like, yeah, whatever this is, I'm down with this. I'm here for it. So I guess the thing is, this kid was like, I guess you could see here. It's like the Zapruder film. We can really analyze this. Upright Citizens Brigade, UCB, comedy venue. There's a comedy show going on, and this guy had a bit about dicks out for Harambe, and he was saying dicks out for Harambe, and he was getting the crowd to say dicks out for Harambe. And I guess Danny Trejo, it's Los Angeles. There's celebrities everywhere. It's La La Land, and it's pre-COVID. Okay, this is in the olden days. This is in the joyful days. Okay, and Danny Trejo goes up to this comedian after the show, apparently, from what I've read, and goes, "Hey man, I love your dicks out for Harambe bit." And this dude's like, "Hey, what if I take my phone out and we're just all like dicks out for Harambe?" And he's like, "That's a great idea." And so they did. And this is what happened, you know? We end up with shirts. Dicks out for Harambe. Now, while all this is going on, of course, the memeing is going crazy. The trolling is going nuts. For a hot second, the alt-right almost took control of dicks out for Harambe because people just gave it to him, right? Right? I think like Milo Yiannopoulos or one of those people tweeted out dicks out for Harambe. And all the original dicks out for Harambe people were like, well, no, if it's an alt-right thing, we're not going to do it. Which to me is the wrong take. When you have something as great as dicks out for Harambe and somebody that maybe you don't agree with starts using it, you don't give it to them. That's yours. You take responsibility for it. You step forward and go like, no, the alt-right, if they are, you say the alt-right's trying to co-opt this, I'm not going to have it. I'm not going to let dicks out for Harambe go to somebody else. Dicks out for Harambe is for all of us, you know? You can't let it be a part of this political wing. Like, you should not politicize dicks out for Harambe. If there is any takeaway from the show tonight, that's it. Never politicize dicks out for Harambe. And the internet wouldn't let it happen. You know, it was a hot second where it seemed like it was going to happen, but the internet didn't allow it. It's too funny. It's too great of a celebration to turn it into something ugly, to turn it into something divisive. Dicks out for Harambe is where we need to all come together as a country, almost as a world. If there's one thing that can bring the globe together, dicks out for Harambe. If aliens landed here and finally got out of all those UFOs that are flying around those Navy ships, and they got out and they were like, hey, we're from another planet. What are you guys up to here? The first thing we should say to them is dicks out for Harambe and get everybody together. Get everybody on the same page. It is a motto of unity. And the internet figured that out. And I was pretty happy about that. Now, the Cincinnati Zoo, after all this went down, you know, the Cincinnati Zoo was getting tweeted a lot. A lot. They'd go like, hey, we got a new panther. And all the replies would be like, well, how long until you shoot it? The way you did Harambe. Is that animal safe? Because Harambe was not. You know, everything was about Harambe. And they tweeted this message out to let everybody know that the zoo family was still healing. That everybody was still healing from the loss of Harambe. And I feel like when they did that and they tried to get that kind of sympathy out of people, that kicked the memes. This dicks out Danny Trejo kicked it into second gear. The zoo saying that they were still healing and they needed some time to heal, that kicked everything into third gear. Then it just became meme heaven. It's like, what are you talking about anymore? What does that even mean? So the memes started going nuts. The Twitter account started getting trolled. I mean, I don't even mind that. I don't mind. Like, I don't think anybody should be hacked. I don't think anybody should be doxxed. But it's like OJ's Twitter account. You know, like every time OJ tweets, people bring up the LA thing that OJ has said many times. He really wishes people would stop talking about it. He doesn't want to talk about the LA thing. You know, the double homicide that he got tied up with. He really doesn't want that being brought up. But for some reason, no matter what he tweets, and he never tweets about that, every reply is always about the LA thing. I find it a joy. It's like, if this is what you're going to do and you're going to be on Twitter, this is what the replies are going to be. And part of the entertainment for me is going to be reading your replies. I don't think it's really happening to the Cincinnati Zoo anymore. It's been 5 years. People are over it. But even if it was, I'd be like, it's still funny. It's still funny. It's not hurting anybody. It's just the replies. It's just Twitter replies. But yeah, I mean, the memes went crazy, you know. This is how I like to imagine Harambe in heaven. He's in a hot tub full of bananas. We can only hope that things are that good for him right now. Every time a celebrity died, or sometimes when they didn't die, they got added to this heaven montage. Oh, this doesn't stretch anymore because of my cough button. To this heaven montage. Look at all those kings and queens up there. See, that's a little misleading. Big Bird is on the screen. The voice actor that played Big Bird is the one that died, not actual Big Bird. See, that's Harambe. Harambe actually died. So that's a little misleading. But there you go. Bob Ross and Paul Walker and Prince, Anthony Bourdain. So many great celebrities. This isn't my photo. I can't verify that everybody up there is dead. But they might be. Steve Irwin's up there. Billy Mays is up there. Those guys are dead for sure. Princess Diana. I think Princess Diana passed away before Harambe, to be fair. But she was added. She was certainly added, and good for her. She's a queen herself. She deserves to be there. But this is what we're left with. We're left with a celebration. Harambe went on to be much more than a news story, much more than an animal on display at a zoo. Harambe is a symbol. It's not only it's a symbol for all the fun that you can have on the internet. It's a symbol of unity, of bringing us all together. And it's just a symbol of one of the great beings that has ever been on this planet. I really would love to talk to the boy, though. I really would love to talk to the kid that was centered around all this. He was 3 years old at the time. It's been 5 years. Let's see, 5. If it had been, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so he's 8 years old now. At 8, you can start to comprehend that. At 3 years old, you're not comprehending anything, but at 8, you're comprehending things. I'd love to sit him down and have that conversation. Like, you remember jumping into that gorilla cage? Oh, yeah, like I kind of do. I mean, he was 3 and he got concussed. Odds are that he doesn't really have a full memory of the whole thing, but I'm sure he's heard the story enough times. But, like, imagine being like, yeah, that became a phenomenon. I mean, for 5 years, people were talking about that. It never went away. And the kid would be like, what do you mean? They'd be like, just the fact that the gorilla died and everything and the story. And the kid would be like, oh, so what? Everybody was just, like, making a big deal out of the fact that I got out of there okay? Everybody was making a big deal out of the fact that I was safe? And they go, no, man. Everybody took Harambe's side. What? What? Like, can you imagine being that kid and realizing that you almost died in a gorilla cage? And the story of that has lasted in the public conscience for years. 5 years now, half a decade, and it only goes on. And they go, why? And you go, because everybody sided with the gorilla. Everybody's pissed about the loss of Harambe. I love it. I think it's great. There's a Harambe NFT going up. I don't know what picture it is. They said they got some picture from the zoo or something like that. I'm sure it's going to be iconic. I don't know what kind of money it's going to bring in, though. The meme NFT things, they are going through all their memes. We were talking about it on Jim and Sam, I don't know, yesterday or the day before. But, like, who was it? Charlie Bit My Finger just did $760,000 for the NFT of the Charlie Bit My Finger thing. This chick right here, the overly attached girlfriend, and this is just a photo. This isn't a video, I don't think. This is just a photo. $555,000 for the NFT of this photo. I mean, I guess there was a time when these memes really lasted. Harambe is like one of the last memes that has had any staying power whatsoever. Now they're here and they're gone. But, like, I think Bad Luck Brian just sold his picture too as an NFT. I can't wait to find out what the Trollolololo guy gets. He deserves it all. All. La 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 la. La 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 la. It's just a good time. It is interesting that we've gotten to a place where we're finally reminiscent of memes. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's great. So yes, rest in peace, Harambe. We will miss you. Saint Harambe of Cincinnati, says Drew Esquire. Somebody says Harambe is old news. Hot Dog is looking for the latest trend. Yeah, that's why Hot Dog didn't want to be a part of the show. I was like, well, it's been 5 years to the day that we lost Harambe. And Hot Dog was like, no, I only like what's trending today. I was like, all right, Hot Dog, go do your thing then. Go do your thing. So we got another UFO video. These UFO videos keep popping up. When I say videos, we don't actually get videos. When I say UFO, and when I say video, like a UFO video is here, but let me break that down further. It was like Neil deGrasse Tyson was on Rogan this week. And, I mean, Rogan, he couldn't get anything. Neil deGrasse Tyson's too smart. He's got too many answers. He's too much of a science man. Because Rogan was like, they saw this alien, or they saw this UFO doing this. And Neil deGrasse Tyson was like, no. There was a machine that registered that what it registered as a UFO was doing this. So first, let's break down the machine. Let's break down this. And you're like, all right, this is why I don't talk to scientists. This is why I just, text with my friend from work about this stuff, because I can't answer all these complicated questions. But we're supposed to have UFO information coming this week. We've had a lot of videos lately of radar screens. It's like I feel like in the 50s, 60s, and a little going into the 70s as well. We had a lot of stories of abduction. And then getting into like the 70s and stuff is when you started to see like real grainy video of like flying saucers that usually ended up being fake. But you had a lot of stories of abductions. That's kind of what it was. Now all the stories of abductions and the grainy footage of like what stuff that appears to be flying saucers, it's all being replaced by radar video. And the radar video does look much more convincing than the older stuff does, but it's technology. We're moving forward. And it's always like a video of a video. It's always some guy that snuck in somewhere and pulled out his phone to video the screen of a video being shown to them. Like, it's always like somebody that was like, okay, I'll show you this radar screen, but don't tell anybody about it, okay? And they're like, yeah, okay. All right, no, I won't tell anybody about it. No, I won't tell anybody about it at all. Hey, why are you holding your phone like that? No, this is how I hold my phone. You hold it horizontal. Yeah, this is how just play the video. This is how I hold it. No, this is just how I hold the phone. And it's interesting that, like, it's not tough to believe that somebody would be able to get that footage because everybody's got a camera. So theoretically, anybody being shown that footage, if you show that footage to 3 people, somebody's going to sneak a camera in there, right? But the fact that you've had that many people be able to get leaked footage by filming screens of radar screens being shown to them, but nobody's been able to get a video camera on one of these crafts, that's a little like, what? Now, I get it. They go like, well, that's because the crafts are in the ocean. Like, they're all above the ocean because the aliens are smart. They know, yeah, we don't want to be on video. And it's like, well, if the aliens are smart enough to be in positions where they're not going to be shot on video, then wouldn't they also be smart enough to not pop up on radars like this? And if they wanted to pop up on a radar, then why wouldn't they want to pop up on a video? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. But what's his name? Jeremy Corbell, who did the documentary on Bob Lazar, who that whole Bob Lazar story was very fishy too. He posted this video. I think he posted it today, but the video is from like, I don't know, a few years ago. And so I try to follow it too. Let me turn this volume down a little bit because I don't think the volume's that important. Maybe it is. People are going to yell at me when I get things wrong. So, like, I guess these are all unidentified things, like all these circles here, are things that are flying around. I never know. I always like pretend to kind of get it. Every time a radar video has come out showing that there's UFOs, I always look at the radar video and I go like, yeah, that does show that there's UFOs. But I can never really figure out what's going on. I never actually see the UFOs. Like, if you just showed me this video and you didn't say there's UFOs in it, I wouldn't know what I watched. I wouldn't. If somebody sent me this video and they're like, this is leaked government stuff, so don't tell anybody, their secret would be safe with me because I wouldn't be able to figure out what I was looking at anyway.
Track 781 just sped up to 46 knots, 50 knots.
Okay, 50 knots. I guess that's fast.
Oh, actually 38 knots. Oh, so fast.
That one's
Okay.
pretty much perfectly 000 relative, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now there's a lot of them.
Miles,
See,
55 knots.
that's, I guess, where it gets juicy. One of them's going 138 knots. I don't even know what a knot is, to tell you the truth. I don't know any of this stuff. But one of them's going 138 knots. And, yeah, there's now a ton of them. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's like 10 flying saucers around there. All like surrounding some, I don't know, Navy ship or something like that. But they're like, this has got to be explained. There's a lot of stuff out there that needs explanation. And I will buy that there is unidentified flying objects. I buy that. Or UAPs, unidentified APs. That's what they call them now. I'll buy all that. But only because I can believe that the government doesn't, that there's a bunch of stuff that the government doesn't know. I can believe that they're caught off guard, or that the certain sectors of the government don't know. You know what I mean? I mean, think about like how any company works. Think about how your company that you work for works. Like, there's stuff that you think when you first started a company, right? And you're at that starting level, and you gossip with your friends at the starting level, and you have this new knowledge of how the company actually works. Looking at it from the outside, you thought it worked one way, but now that you work there, you actually know how it works. And you're like, oh, these are the secrets. This is what's going on, right? Then you get promoted. You get promoted a couple times. And you start working at a different level, right? You start working maybe with like maybe lower middle management. You're no longer the plebs. You're no longer the starting people. You're now lower middle management. And in lower middle management, you go like, oh, none of these jerk-offs on their computers have any idea what they're talking about. No. This is why these decisions are being made. This is what's actually going on. And you have a whole new knowledge base for what's going on. Then you get promoted again. You end up in upper middle management. And you realize that the idiots in lower middle management don't know what's going on. And it keeps going and going until you're upper management, or you're right under the CEO, and you realize that even middle management doesn't have a clue how things are actually going. They know what they, I don't know, not what they need to know. It's not quite that nefarious in every company, you know, if you work at a grocery store. But, you know, when you work at a grocery store and you're the bag boy or you're the cashier, you're probably like, how come we only get tuna on Thursdays? It's one of the most popular items. And then you become like assistant manager. You're like, oh, we only get tuna on Thursdays because that's when the company ships them. And then you become the store manager and you go, oh, we get tuna on Thursdays because that's the day before it goes bad and it's cheaper. Oh, that's why we get tuna on those days. The cashier doesn't know that. You don't let the cashier know that, because if the cashier knows that, first of all, there's a high rate of transfer. He's going to get fired. Somebody's going to replace him. He's going to tell his friends about the tuna trick. You don't want your friends and everybody, all the locals, knowing that there's tuna tricks. You don't want that. So you don't tell them. You make sure they don't know. And so the idea that not every level knows everything that's going on, 100% I believe that. And then I 100% believe that even at the highest level, people don't know what's going on, because that's the other thing you forget. Everybody's an idiot. I've never met a human being that on some level is not an idiot. Even a genius is also an idiot, right? Like, if you talk to a genius about the thing that they're a genius at, then you're like, oh my God, this person is just on another level. He's a genius. But if you start talking to him about something else, like if you hang out with a genius for a week, by day 4, you're going to be like, oh, he's an idiot. There's nobody that wouldn't fit into that. Nobody. However, I've been thinking about it a lot. Aliens could exist. It's very egocentric to believe that we're the only living organisms in anywhere, in multiple universes, anywhere you could think of. It's ridiculous. However, it's also ridiculous to think that we're special. And so I think about our society and the way we function. And I go, are we eventually going to reach the technology that we as a species could go from planet to planet, universe to universe? We're getting close. We're finally getting to, we got Elon. We got Elon, okay? Elon wants to get us to this place where we're going to be able to go to Mars. That's amazing, you know? And I think you give it another 100 years, there's no doubt in my mind that we'll be able to go back and forth to Mars. You give it 200, 300, you know, the years keep going. Interstellar travel is going to be something that we could theoretically do if we get there. The only way aliens are visiting the Earth is if they are a super leveled up being. If they are way above what we're doing. But when I think about humans, I go, I mean, we might have 100 years left. It's tough to think what the world is going to look like in 100 years. The way technology moves. I mean, I think that civilizations, I like the theory that civilizations destroy themselves. That there is a cycle to civilizations. That eventually we get so advanced that we destroy ourselves on accident. Something goes down. We figure out climate change. Maybe we nuclear war each other. Maybe we just create this technology that we don't even know what it's going to be yet. Now, oops. I thought we were going to connect everybody gets connected to the internet, right? We figure out a way that all brains are connected. So our brains are connected to each other like the internet. So the entire human race shares one central knowledge base. It's not that far-fetched to believe that eventually the entire human race will share one central knowledge base. And when we finally get there, somebody's going to trip over the wire and unplug the cable to the central knowledge base. And it's going to turn off all our brains and kill society. You know it's going to happen. Something like that will happen. I believe humanity will destroy itself before we get to the advanced state where we could go into other universes and see what they're up to. That said, I don't think humanity is special. I think that's just the way civilization works. And I think that there are other civilizations out there in space. But I strongly believe that before they would have gotten the power, before they would have developed the technology, before they would have gotten so advanced that they could either send ships or fly ships themselves to our planet, they would have destroyed their own society by mistake. I strongly believe that. I think that's where we're going to go. And that's where societies before us went. And that's where societies after us will go to. That's the cycle. I think. That's my theory. I literally came up with it today. It's not really based on any research. It's certainly not based on any science. I don't even know how to read one of these charts. I don't know what I'm talking about. However, I came up with that theory today. You know, it's just, there is so much conversation surrounding UFOs. And there should be. But the closer we get to actually coming up with an answer to the question I'm asking is not, are there aliens out there? The question that I'm asking is, are there aliens out there that have either visited this planet or communicated, even if it's only a one-way communication, communicated with this planet, meaning sent a probe to this planet? And my view today, as I think about this, and again, I'm sitting in a lonely room coming up with this myself. All it would take is one person with a brain to convince me that I'm wrong. But today, it seems to me that any alien civilization that would have figured out how to send a probe or fly a ship to Earth would have already destroyed itself. Because I think before we can send a probe or fly a ship to... Because when you start sending ships to other worlds to figure out what they're up to, it means that your world is pretty much set. You know? Like, there's no way. Our world is such a mess. We are not ready to travel interdimensionally. We're not ready to see another world because we can't bring them. It's like when your house is a mess. You're really not ready to go out and meet people and bring them home. And you shouldn't be going into other people's houses if you're not ready to bring them into your house. Before you do, you got to clean up the living room. You got to make the bed. You got to spray some of the Febreze. Spray some of the Febreze around the room. It stinks in there, right? You got to spruce the place up. You got to make sure that your stuff is in order before you start looking at other people's stuff, okay? So if aliens are coming over here, then their stuff must be in order. And I think that once civilization even comes close to getting itself completely in order, it destroys itself by mistake. I don't think there's any way that we're going to get around that. I mean, Nick Cage Rage 1 says nobody goes to your house. That's true. That's true. But that way I don't have to keep it clean either, so it's no big deal. It's no big deal. Look, if you think I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, but Beetlejuice says, Sam's on pain pills. Look at how he keeps rubbing his nose. I rub my nose a lot because I got this big mustache that the hairs mess with it. If I was on pain pills, I would have to do something that caused pain. That would be like something athletic. I don't do anything like that, so I don't know what to tell you. Send in those super chats, by the way. If you want me to read your chat, send in the super chats. All super chats guaranteed to get read. We should also touch on this before we leave tonight. This is what I'm saying. Like, can you imagine the aliens come here and they're like, oh, what are you guys up to? And we're like, oh, see this guy, Guy Fieri? Yeah, we just paid him $80 million to go to diners. And like, oh, that's what... that we've heard so many great things about the human race. This is... Yeah. He's a super rich guy. Guy Fieri made a deal with the Food Network. $80 million. And I was thinking about this, and look, I've had my history with Guy Fieri. Okay, we have been rivals at a time. You know, we had our war. But honestly, when I read that Guy Fieri was getting 80 million, number one, I was like, hell yeah. Anytime somebody, I mean, they're saying he's like the most paid chef in the world, but he's not making $80 million to cook food. He's a host. He's getting paid $80 million because he hosts shows and people watch him. That to me, and that's, not only is that no disrespect, if anything, that's respect. $80 million, he's a TV show host. That's what he does. And anytime a TV show host is making money like that, especially with a Guy Fieri, who, I'll say kindly, is clearly doing his own thing. You know, he's not conforming. Well, he's conforming to the norms of, like, the early 2000s. Like, he's conforming to the norms of, like, 2003 a little bit. Like, when Pac's son was really, really cool. But in 2021, he's not conforming to any norms. He's doing his own thing. He's like, nope, this was cool a while ago. This is still cool for me. And I'm like, all right, Guy Fieri, you do your thing. To that degree, he's a self-made person. And when I see somebody that's like, I'm going to carve out my own niche, and I'm going to bring it to the point that I'm making 80 mil, I'm like, hell yeah. So number one, it's a good thing because of that. Number two, I was really thinking about it. Quite frankly, Guy Fieri, whether you like him or not, he deserves more than $80 million. He deserves it all. For the Food Network? Who's watching anything on the Food Network besides Guy Fieri? I don't think anybody. There are some networks that certain hosts or people, certain shows should just get all the money on the network. True TV should give all their money to the Impractical Jokers. Just any money that True TV has. All the ad money. I don't know how TV stations make money, clearly. But any money that True TV gets, give it all to the Impractical Jokers. USA gets money. Half of it should go to Vince McMahon. The other half of it should go to Mariska Hargitay, Law and Order. Give half of it to SVU and half of it to Raw. And a little bit to Sunday Night Heat. You know, I mean, like, when these channels, CNBC, all their nighttime money, their daytime money, you can give it to whoever the financial people are. But all the nighttime money that comes into CNBC, that should be split evenly amongst the sharks. They try to come up with new shows. The Jay Leno Garage, the Howie Mandel Make a Deal. I mean, Marcus the Prophet I like. He can stay. But for the most part, all the money should just go to the Shark Tanks. Like, there's certain shows, I'll literally, like, I'll turn on True TV any time of day, any day. And if Impractical Jokers isn't on, I'm annoyed. Like, at this point, Rob Dyrdek should be getting all the MTV money. Whatever money MTV gets, it should be going to Rob Dyrdek and ridiculousness. All of it. And maybe a little for Nev. Catfish is on a lot, too. But Guy Fieri is the Food Network at this point. I don't know anybody that's watching anything on that thing except Guy Fieri eating sandwiches at diners. And even I don't even like Guy Fieri. And if Guy Fieri eating sandwiches at diners is on, and the Jokers isn't on, I'm watching Guy Fieri eating sandwiches at diners. It's a great show. It's a comfortable show. It makes me feel good. I think it's good. So yeah, man, not only do I think Guy Fieri, I think he should get more than $80 million. I absolutely think that he's worth it. Not because what he's doing is so difficult. You know, what do any of us in entertainment do that's so difficult, you know? But the company's making money. Food Network's making money. He's making money. See, Ricardo Rodriguez says, rumor has it that when Guy Fieri takes his sunglasses off, flames come out of his eyes. And I think that that's true. And when you got a guy like that, and that's why sometimes he puts them on the back of his head, because sometimes the flames start shooting out of the back of his head, and he's got to put sunglasses on from behind. But when that starts happening, yeah. And he should be bragging about it. I saw an article, it was like, hey, guess what? Not only did Guy Fieri just sign an $80 million contract, he bought a second house, too. It's probably a mansion. He's probably got multiple giant houses. And he should. Because if you figure out a way to get everybody to tune into a TV show station all the time, if the network can base its entire network strategy around you, Food Network can go in to any meeting with sponsors, and they're like, well, what do you have on your lineup? What kind of stuff are you airing on the Food Network? They're like, we got Guy Fieri. He goes to diners. He eats their sandwiches. They're like, okay, we'll buy some ad time. Yep. No, that's it. You got yourself a network. That sounds good. Frank S. says, Sam of all people should know, eating can be difficult. I think about that sometimes. I think about the fact that I can never handle having one of these shows. You know? I go in and it'd be like, oh, this is the greatest burger joint in Oklahoma. Here we are. I'd get out of my 1950s Cadillac. It'd be shiny and red. I'd have my flame shirt on. I was going to say I'd dye my hair bleach blonde or I bleach my hair, but then I remembered I don't have any. So maybe I get like a Scott Steiner thing going on where I just bleach like a stripe here just to get something going. Maybe I'd like try to like turn up the corners and whack just some kind of wild personality on my mustache. And I'd go, "This is the best burger joint in all of Oklahoma. And we're right outside today to see what all the hubbub is all about. Let's go, guys." And I go into the kitchen. I go, "Hey, man, I heard you got good burgers." And they'd be like, "Yeah, and we fixed up something good for you." And I'd be like, "That's great, but do you have anything that's like chicken and not a lot of sauce on it?" And they go, "What?" "No, I'm just kind of a picky eater, man. Just like a plain chicken sandwich, no sauce, no onions." You got that? You have anything like that on the menu? Because that's more my style. "Yeah, man, this is a pretty slamming dish. Can you make mine without mayonnaise? Because I don't do that." I would have a real tough time. Big J, 21, apple pie is the best. What's wrong with you, Sammy No Cakes? "Hey, man, we're outside. This is the best pie space in all of Texas. They call it Pie Space because it's a space for pies. That's all they have. Let's go in and see what this is all about. Hey, I heard you got great apple pie here." "Yeah, we got all the pies in the world. We got all the pies that you want." "That's great, man. I'd love to try what you got. You got any, like a cake?" "What?" "Yeah, like a cake or like a donut or something like that. I don't eat pie." "Huh?" I'd be terrible. I couldn't do that job. God bless him. Even for $80 million. I wouldn't be able to handle it. Victor Guerra says amberback sauce. I mean, that's another one. Anytime I turn on the Paramount Network and John Taffer's not on, I'm like, what are you guys doing? John Taffer should get all the money that Paramount has because Bar Rescue is the best thing on that channel. Maybe that's why he was mad. Sitting there going like, we have the show on this channel. And this idiot doesn't know how to pronounce Amberbach. I'm like, give me an Amberback. Chicken pizza and cakes with Sam Roberts, says Drew Esquire. I would do that, especially for $80 million. I'm going to find the best chicken, pizza, and cakes. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be awesome. But whatever. Maybe my agent needs to get on that. Maybe Tony Burton needs to figure out how, if Guy Fieri's getting $80 million, I'll tell you right now, I would do chicken, pizza, and cakes, $750 a show. $750 an episode. You got yourself a deal. You get a lot cheaper. And who's not going to watch that? Chicken, pizza, and cakes with Sam. If that's on my lineup, I'm watching that. I'm going around the country, and I'm getting the best chicken, pizza, and cakes. I think it'd be great. All right, you know the rule. Sam Roberts now has one rule and one rule only. Every super chat will get read. If you've been watching along and you got some questions, comments, or stuff that you want to contribute, super chat it in now, and we're going to go through them. Victor Guerra is requesting an Army of the Dead breakdown. Maybe, I did the review for Mortal Kombat. Maybe that's a Not Sam review. Maybe I'll watch that tonight. But yes, super chat it in. And hit that like button, bro. Maybe you weren't here when I asked you to do that in the beginning. But if you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure that you're subscribed. We got new content going up all the time. So subscribe and hit that bell. Smash that like button like it's the people that have wronged you in your life. Smash that like button like it's every person that has ever disrespected you. I know you've gone through it. I know that there have been people that have wronged you. I know that you want to smash their face. See their face in that thumbs up and smash it. Hit subscribe. Do the whole thing. Charlene says Adam Ray sounds like Seth MacFarlane. I would talk more about that comment, but it's not super chatted in, so I won't now. Louis Satina, whatever instrumental plays during the countdown is great. Good ear, Sammy, unless Hot Dog chose it, then it sucks. Even if Hot Dog did choose it, which maybe he did, I'll still take credit for it. I mean, it's my name under it. I just think it's nice now that, especially when the video just lives on YouTube after the live show, that now it's not just dead air before the countdown starts. I think that's nice. Dan Johnson, also the 5-year anniversary of one of the best episodes of Sam Roberts' show, Dick's Out for Harambe. Good. I don't remember the Harambe show on Sam Roberts' show, but I'm sure it was excellent. There's so many great Sam Roberts shows. Rob Thompson, Cincinnati, more like Cincinnati. Am I right? By the way, I think Chip took over your chat. Go cop some kicks. I'm going to try to, man. It's tough. It's tough. Harambe from Cincinnati. Not Sam Lehman says, Dick's out for Harambe forever. Rest in power. Rest in power. Dick's out for Harambe. Pinky Schultz, Sammy Danger Muffins, you forgot one thing. When they spoke on Akon and asked you to name songs, one thing you forgot was his duet with Dr. Dre in 2009, Kush. Yeah, I couldn't believe that any disrespect was coming Akon's way. I should have shown it was Jim, Norton, Travis, and Troy that were disrespecting Akon earlier this week. I should have showed him that video of the fan that was like throwing shit, and he invited the fan on stage, and then he picked him up in a fireman's carry. And then he basically gave him the attitude adjustment, almost like a Death Valley driver, back into the crowd. He picked him up on his shoulders and just chucked him. It is the most awesome thing a musician has ever done. Mads, is your wife still friends with Opie's wife? No, unfortunately, the Hughes and Roberts families. No, we haven't spoken. We have not spoken. Sex Bagel. Can I be the new Jim and Sam producer? Anthony won't pay me. Well, I doubt that this is the actual Sex Bagel. You know, I would think Sex Bagel is a father. He's probably got other things to do right now. He's not as lonely anymore. But I'm sure we would have him back if that were the case. Not Sam Grim Reaper. Happy Lonely Friday night, Sammy boy. Dick's out for Harambe, UFO, Tuna Tricks, Febrezing Living Rooms, and Guy Fieri. What a lineup tonight. I mean, it's been an incredible show. If you can't take life advice away from this show, I don't know what to tell you. Like, if you haven't benefited as a person, if you're not a better human being from all the knowledge that has spilled out of me tonight, I don't know what to tell you. And Christopher Cavey, I'm high and I got the giggles. It's probably the best way. Probably the best way to enjoy the show. I know it's the way I'd prefer it. It's been great. It's been great. Look, I appreciate you all. You're all wonderful, great people. Don't forget to smash that like button. If you haven't checked it out already, check out the Adam Ray interview in the Notsam studio that went up earlier today. We will also have a new episode, assuming Hot Dog gets off his ass in editing. If you ever think that I'm bluffing when I say Hot Dog is slow at editing, I still got hair in the interview with Adam Ray that went up today. That's how slow Hot Dog is at editing. But there will be another in the Notsam studio up this week here on the YouTube channel. So make sure that you're subscribed and your alerts are turned on. Let's see. I just saw the last 60 minutes have proved you don't know what to tell us. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. What can I tell you? All right, guys. I appreciate you. You're all great. I'll see you soon. Have a good night. You got 5 styluses. You might as well use them. We'll see you all later. Have a good night, everybody. Let's go to this one. Have a good night, everybody. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.